Today, as we observe International Human Rights Day, we gather to explore one of the most critical intersections of our time, the evolving relationship between AI and human rights. In a world where technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace, it is crucial that we pause to reflect on its implications on justice, equality, and the protection of fundamental rights. Before we begin, I would like to invite Dr. Jairam, Dean of the School of Law at GD Goenka University, to deliver a welcome address. With over 25 years of distinguished experience in both legal practice and academia, Dr. Jairam has made remarkable contributions to the legal education in India. He has also served at renowned institutions, including Manipal University, Jaipur, and SDM Law College, and has superheaded several initiatives, including the first institutional arbitration center at Manipal and the largest ever academic event on mediation, Settle 2021. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shreya, because I was a little held up with a couple of things because some of the panelists like Professor V.C. Vivekanand was struggling to get online. I just request all the teams to help him get online, please. Yeah. So, respected panel members, Honorable Mr. Justice Anil Kumar Sinha, Professor V.C. Vivekanandan, Professor Edna, Professor Dragos, Professor Marietta, and our Vice Chancellor Kim, Dr. Andratha, deans, judges, professionals, academicians, researchers, my dear students, and all participants. I wish you all a pleasant winter evening. And of course, for Professor Edna and others from the other side of the world, I wish you all a wonderful winter morning. Greetings on the International Human Rights Day. First of all, let me share my heartfelt gratitude to all the panelists who have joined us in such a short notice. The theme of today's session actually is future-proofing human rights issues in the era of AI. So one of the most debated topic, of course, is, it's AI, and because it's been deliberated over a period of time. But sometimes we feel that, are we talking too much about AI? But every meetings, every conference, seminar, even in my DRC meetings, like everywhere, I see these discussions happening. Regulatory challenges, raging debate on IP, accountability and liability, ethical issues, data privacy, the host of issues. There's, of course, these are real issues, not something which is artificial. But again, all these issues are awaiting the solutions because the legal fraternity have to rise up to the occasion, find a solution for all of this. So recent controversies like, relating to the Google's layoff. If you closely analyze all of it, we can see a human rights dimension to all of it. So let me recall, because way back in 80s and early 90s, the computerization, which happened, actually triggered a lot of controversies. Like, the secretariat in Kerala had smashed nearly almost all computers, apprehending that this could lead to a potential job loss. So we can see like how computers have transformed our world. Just like that, AI is being viewed as a giant. That's it. That's just that we may have to struggle to term it. But a giant, if termed really well, it can redefine our future. So we need to talk about it. We need to deliberate about it. We need to do a lot of brainstorming, devise plans and strategies to put everything under control. Yeah, so the purpose of this small conversation with all the experts is just that. We just brief. I just wanted to brief something about this session, and this session has received an amazing response. We have more than 500 plus registrations so far for this event, and because of the rush of the registration, we have actually decided to send it online through YouTube, and Facebook Live is being telecasted now. So I appreciate the effort of my team, led by Dr. Divanshu and my center head, Dakshida, Sandeep, Leena, Shreya, Neetu, Priyanka, and my student teams like Rahil, Rafina, and Mino. You've done a wonderful job to execute it really, really well. With that, of course, I mean, I'm just, I don't want to take much of your time. I'll just come to my assigned role immediately. I'm grateful to Honorable Justice Anil Kumar Sinha for joining us in such a short notice. On behalf of the entire panel here, all the participants, I extend a warm and cordial welcome to you, sir. And Dr. V.C. Vivekanandan, I think he's struggling with his joining. My team actually is definitely taking care of. I hope you have joined. Yeah. Okay. So he has always been very supportive throughout my career and tenure. Like he was there for my curriculum conclave at Manipal. So he was there for all conferences and seminars whenever I've invited him. So I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. And Professor Edna Hageman. Of course, we met a couple of occasions when I was at Manipal. You know, she just responded so positively in a quick WhatsApp message, and I'm really happy and glad to host you. I extend a wholehearted welcome to you, Professor Edna, and Professor again Dragos Ivan. Actually, I got a message from him just now, a couple of minutes back. He had to rush to a court, but he'll be joining us in between because there's something relating to Romanian election has created some issues. I think he has rushed to the court with some of the cases. He'll be back soon. Of course, Professor Marriott, she's always been a great friend, and she's been my adjunct visiting faculty at Manipal University. We thoroughly enjoy the tenure that she has spent there at Manipal during a visit. I extend an affectionate welcome to Professor Marriott as well. Of course, Professor Veeb Kim, Professor Aniratha, my Honorable Vice Chancellor and Registrar is also there. I extend a cordial welcome to all of them. So I welcome all the professors, academicians, researchers, students who have joined this meeting. Thanks for joining. I extend a warm, cordial welcome to all of you. Once again, let me wish you all a great International Human Rights Day. With that, I conclude. Have a great session. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words of wisdom, sir. It is my privilege to now invite Dr. Kim Meneses, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of GD Goenka University, to deliver her inaugural address. With her visionary leadership and commitment to academic excellence, Dr. Meneses has played a pivotal role in advancing the university's mission to foster innovation and holistic education. Ma'am, please, your kind words, please.
A very good evening and a good morning to some of you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedules to be a part of this colloquium. I think on this special day of International Human Rights, I think it is great for our students, for our faculty, for our community of in the legal area to be able to witness this particular colloquium. I would love to invite you to campus. So hopefully next time we will have this on our campus and not have it online, which is what we hope to do. So just as you all know, GD Goenka University is just completed 10 years. We are relatively young, and we've had a school of law now being headed by Dr. Jairam and Dr. Devanshu, and they look forward to expanding the horizons of the students. I as the Vice Chancellor will work with them to make sure that they raise it to the highest levels that they want to achieve, and be supportive. So for both our faculty and our students. So I think I will not take any more of your time because we want to listen to you. And I think it's more important for us to listen to you than to listen to me. So let's go ahead and start the session. And Devanshu, I heard you're moderating. So I think I'm looking forward to a nice discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your insightful words, ma'am. Our distinguished panel today comprises of legal scholars, experts, and thought leaders who will share their insights on how we can safeguard human rights in the age of AI. It is an honor to have such a distinguished panel with us this evening, and I'm sure we will have a productive and thought provoking discussion. With this, I would now like to introduce our esteemed panelists. First, Honorable Mr. Justice Anil Kumar Sinha, Supreme Court of Nepal. It is my privilege to introduce Honorable Justice Kumar. Justice Sinha has an extensive and distinguished career in both law practice and judicial service, with over 34 years of experience in commercial law, taxation, public and private partnerships. Justice Sinha has made significant contributions to Nepal's legal landscape. His work includes national consulting roles for the UNDP and IFSC, as well as the involvement in drafting key legislations. Justice Sinha has received several prestigious accolades, including the Prasidh Praval Jan Seva Shri Award and Professor Justice A.B. Rohtagi Jurist Award 2019, presented by the SILF, that is Society of Indian Law Firms, and the Madhav Menon Institute of Legal Advocacy Training. We look forward to hearing his valuable insights on the intersection of human rights and AI. Professor Dr. V.C. Vivekanandan, Vice Chancellor of Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur, India. Professor Vivekanandan has 3 decades of teaching and research experience in legal education and has served in NLS Bangalore and Nalsar, Hyderabad between 1990 and 2017. He was also the Dean of RGNLU of IP Law and IIT Kharagpur between 2009 to 2010 and was the founding Dean of the School of Law at Bennett University, Greater Noida. Professor Vivekanandan was appointed as the MHRD Chair Professor, and during this tenure, he was also representing Government of India negotiations in SCCR meets at Geneva and as an official delegate from 2013 to 15. He also served as an NWO ICCR Fellow at the Maastricht University School of Law and as an invited scholar to the Intellectual Property Institute at Tokyo in 2010 and 15. Professor Dr. Marietta Safta. She is a professor at Titu Maiorosco University, Budapest, Romania. A tenured professor, she also specializes in constitutional law, political institutions, and European Union laws. She is also the vice president of Senate of University of Titu Maiorosco. Her distinguished career includes serving as first assistant magistrate at Romania's Constitutional Court and as the state secretary at Ministry of Justice. She is also serving as an adjunct professor at Manipal University, Jaipur. A prolific author and active member of several legal associations, Professor Safta's expertise will provide invaluable insights into the intersection of HR and artificial intelligence. Last but not the least, Professor Dr. Edna Raquel Hodgman, Dean of Center for Law, Legal, Political, and Administration Sciences. We are privileged to have Dr. Hodgman with us today. Professor Hodgman holds a postdoctorate in law from UNESA, a PhD in Masters in Law from UGF, and a specialist in bioethics and human rights. She is a professor at graduate law program at the Federal University of State of Rio de Janeiro and a researcher in the global comparative law, focusing on bioethics, biolaw, and human rights. As the Dean for the Center of Legal and Political Administration Sciences, she has contributed significantly for the academic and practical development of law, especially in the areas of human rights and biotechnology. We are excited to hear your insights in today's session on the future of human rights and the age of AI, ma'am. Last but not the least, Dr. Dragos Lucian Ivan, Budapest University, He is a seasoned lawyer and an academician with extensive expertise in criminal law, business law, and European Union law. Dr. Ivan has worked on numerous high-profile cases, including those before the European Court of Human Rights, and offers to legal advice to SMEs, particularly in the sectors of IT&C and R&D and energy, focusing on the EU funding and compliance. We look forward to hearing his perspectives on the human rights in the context of emerging technologies like AI. As we transition to the panel discussion, I would now like to invite Dr. Devanshu Srivastav, Associate Dean and Associate Professor at the School of Law, GD Goenka University, to moderate the session. Dr. Srivastav brings a wealth of expertise in the legal education and has played an instrumental role in shaping the academic landscape at GD Goenka University. So please guide the discussion on this important topic on future-proofing human rights in the age of AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shreya ma'am. And namaste from India to all my panelists across the world who have joined us today in this session and on the eve of the International Human Rights Day. 76th anniversary of what the UDHR brings into. And I'm pretty sure by the time UDHR was being framed, none of us was, or the framers at that time was also not aware that the new generation of the AI would be there, where it is of artificial intelligence, nothing affecting or nothing being made upon the humans, but yes, definitely affecting the human rights. I'm so graced by the panelists out here. And just to come across with a point, so the entire panel discussion would be how the new age rights or the AI advent or the future thing are affecting the human rights and how the impact is being taken or how we are reacting towards the same. I'll start first and foremost with Justice Anil Kumar Sinha, sir. And the question that I'm taking up today, sir, for your insights to be delivered is when we see recent trends where mass layoffs and something that also Jairam sir in his welcome address brought that by the advent of computers when it was coming onto, it was a big threat that the jobs and other things would be taken up. The recent example of how Google in the early 23 took measures of the layoffs involving thousands of employees raising concerns about the job security. How do you think that this advent of artificial intelligence, popularly the AI, reflects on a broader trend of the global workforce? And how are we as involved agencies reacting towards the same, sir?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank GD Goenka University, Professor Jairam, Mr. Srivastav, Professor Srivastav, and all the panelists here for allowing me to speak here in front of you. And the question is extremely important at this moment because the human rights perspectives are changing every time. You have very rightly said that it was this idea of or the thought of AI was never ever conceived when the declaration was drafted. Now, things have changed a lot. Like, for example, the fundamental rights in the constitution of each country has changed. Its scopes have been expanded. And you have very rightly said that at this moment, most of the legal framework has ensured the employment as one of the fundamental right of the people of the country. Whenever there is a change, certainly there is a risk. There is opportunity, the challenges, and those challenges actually raises the opportunity also. You have very rightly also said that when the computers were introduced, there were a lot of talks about displacement of huge workforce, like those who were working on the typings or the stenos. Over a period of time, what really happened was those workforces enhanced their skills and knowledge in the respective fields, and they were adjusted into the same frameworks. So for some time there were risks, but basically those who are actually ready for the challenges, they actually gain more than those who do not get themselves prepared. Having said that, the state, it's also the responsibility of the state to see how those workforces can be you know placed at a right place, or the skill developments are done. Apart of that, there are a lot of other opportunities that the state has to come up with. So a legal framework has also to be envisaged, in a country like Nepal, where the lawmaking is extremely a cumbersome process. I find it as a big challenge when the matter of AI comes, because it is nothing that the law can stop. So the paramount importance is the education system that has to be uplifted, upgraded. The skills must be taken care of, and new opportunity has to be installed in places, and the responsibility lies with the state, with the private sectors, and also the people who have to face those challenges. I think I would like to hear more from the other panelists also on this issue, and then come back to you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Justice Sinha, for making that event, and thank you once again, because I know when it was the advent of getting digitalization in particularly for a country like Nepal, your role there was very, very ample. So I know that how when you are talking about a three-way role of being the state, the private entities, and the people themselves, skilling itself is something that we need to take it up alongside the legal framework. So thank you so much for making that particular point. From that, I'll move to Professor Marietta, and if she can just take up a point on how the advent of like a threat towards taking the jobs, the legal forces around it. Your take on that, Professor Marietta?
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, esteemed professor, judges, and distinguished guests, and dear students. It is also a pleasure for me to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. It is always a pleasure to meet you. Thank you, Professor and Dean Jairam. I remember with a lot of pleasure my visit in India at Manipal Jaipur University, and I hope that I have the opportunity as well to visit Goenka University. But it's a pleasure to meet online first in this great events with this significant occasion, International Human Rights Day, and discussing such an important topic. As Dean Jairam has just told in his introductory speech, indeed, artificial intelligence looks that is the topic of the day in all our conferences in the last year. We discussed a lot, and maybe we'll develop a little bit this topic also in the relation with the development of the legal professions. But in terms of our introductory discussion right now, and regarding the question you and the issues you put in questions right now, I've noticed that Justice started, Justice Kumar Sinha, put into question the responsibility of the state to provide an adequate legal framework in order to reorganize this development in terms of job displacement, for example, workforce. But I think that we also, as an educators in our universities, we have an important task and important role in order to prepare our students for these new challenges. And just in 2 minutes, I will discuss a little bit about project in our university. Maybe it's a kind of inspiration also for other universities in terms to adapt their work with the students. We have an important project aiming to interdisciplinary collaboration, uniting the fields of informatics, economics, and law to address these complex societal challenges by combining technological expertise with legal and ethical framework. We aim through this project to create a robust educational model to promote sustainability, equity, innovation for future generation. In fact, the main objective of our project is to build artificial intelligence competencies through hands-on internships and training, to equip students with skills to tackle climate action, energy transitions, and bioeconomy challenges. So we try somehow to have this interdisciplinary perspective in order to integrate advanced artificial intelligence tools into educational landscape and to create a kind of innovative approach to promote, let's say, from my perspective, because I'm a professor of constitutional law, to promote awareness of intergenerational rights enshrined in our constitution, so both in constitutions of Romania, India, or Brazil, because we represent here so different parts of the world. Our key performance indicators in this project, which is financed by European Union, so I underlined in this framework also the importance of these statal actors and supranational actors in order to promote and to support all this development of integrating artificial intelligence in our day-to-day life. So our key performance indicators focus on engaging students in transformative learning experiences, fostering innovative ideas in climate and bioeconomy, building strong industry collaboration for impactful application, because our students, they have some stages of practices in important partners in industry, building strong and long-term benefits for society and environment. Of course, in just a few words, I tried only to say some general approach in terms of our project, but there are a lot of concrete steps in order to implement and to successfully enhance the training of our students in order to follow the development of artificial intelligence and to learn them to use artificial intelligence tools in the day-to-day life and in their workplace. In fact, for the future, after they will finish the schools, the university, their studies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Marietta. And I guess the AI answer that you gave, I clubbing for your answer. So I got an AI square answer from your particular answer. And this AI stands for adaptation, interdisciplinary, awareness, and innovative approach. So thank you so much for highlighting the particular that an AI can also be looked towards the time. Before I move to my second question, again, it's an absolute honor for me to not only have Professor Dr. V.C. Vivekanandan sir as one of my panelists. He has also been my teacher of IPR. So that is also a double advantage or a double happiness moment for me. And before I move to sir, I know that I have a particular question for him. In advent of what we were talking about job displacement, sir, the AI in the forms of how being used as a tool. And here I'm like to mentioning the specific, the AI legal tools like Harvey or Lucio, how they have been developing and how the law firms have adopted across the globe over the same. So in what ways are the AI powered tools transforming the workflow within the legal profession? And how can these technologies coexist with traditional lawyering practices while upholding ethical standards of professional integrity? And to add a tinge of it, so the intellectual property rights way of how we see this particular thing. So, Professor Vivekanandan, sir, how you see this particular thing coming up?
Thank you, Dr. Devanshu. Let me greet Professor Jairam, whom I'm meeting after a very, very long time from Kerala to now, and is very aging gracefully, I would say that. And then good to meet Honorable Justice Anil Kumar Sinha. Incidentally, my Chancellor's name is also Justice Anil Sinha in Chhattisgarh, and also to our colleagues from abroad who have joined, of course, different hours. I'm happy to be around here. So the question, what you are trying to put across to me is about what is the impact in terms of the legal field and especially towards intellectual property rights. Like all of you are talking about workforce displacement. I think lawyers are not immune to that. AI certainly is going to displace quite a lot of young lawyers who are beginning. The worst part of the scenario is all of us know from legal field what a grind it is in the beginning for young lawyers to do a lot of jobs and then try to do that's so going to be a double hit in a sense. Suddenly you don't come and start as a senior counsel. You are doing a lot of things and then learning in the field apart from what is theoretically taught. So the worrisome thing certainly on the first part is that it is going to really hit a lot of normal jobs. You really don't need any legal personnel or paralegal to draft contracts. One of the ex-HNLU person himself has brought a very sophisticated contract drafting software. So one way we are very proud HNLU person brought it, but will further HNLU students, will they be, when they pass out, will they be there is a big question. Only thing I wanted to slightly take different thing, this workflows displacement, as Justice pointed out very correctly, when computers came, and there was a big thing. I remember in the early 90s, I was participating in a protest in Bengaluru, led by none other than V.R. Krishna Iyer, because V.R. Krishna Iyer was protesting against introducing computers in the bank. And a huge thing was there. I was an enthusiastic participant. Much later, 10 years later, Justice Krishna Iyer came to Hyderabad Nalsar University for some work, and I was interacting. For something, he told his assistant, take the laptop and get this. So I smiled at him and said, sir, a lot of water has flown down. You are hooked to laptop. Then he smiled and said, sometimes we are overreacting, I think. Okay, so the storm passed away. That is because, as Justice pointed out, typewriters gone, in that place computers came, and then there's a little bit of technicality. Still, ASDFG of a typewriter, you can type computer. But the worrisome factor of AI is, it is not an acceleration of technology, I call it. It's a paradigm shift. There's a difference of acceleration and paradigm shift. Acceleration is physics. We know how fast it goes. I can a little bit anticipate and then match with it and cope with it. But paradigm shift is simply what I call it as unpredictability about what is going to happen, what that curve is very difficult. I often joke with my students, acceleration is any other Indian film actor fighting in a cinema. But paradigm shift is, I don't know, the foreigners know about it, or Indian audience know, it is Rajinikanth fighting. Right? So nobody knows, director doesn't know, cameraman doesn't know what's he going to fight, and they simply can it. So similarly, I call it as, this is really worrisome for all. And the point is simple, you cannot stop the technology juggernaut, because technology is a constant in human history. As much we read very interestingly, very wrongly, history is about different wars and different years. But actually, it's a technology history throughout, from Flintstones to genetic clones. It's a technology. But when the technology is in acceleration, law, even though it's very slow species, it is able to catch up and it is able to, do that. But this AI technology, as someone put it in a foreign friend of mine, it is a speeding car in the curve. And before I could give the ticket, it is the next curve. That's what they said. And my Indian professor said, very interestingly, it is like technology, he says, is the Hindu wife And a law is the Hindu husband, 7 steps behind, always, right? In a marriage, circle. But at least 7 steps should be there, So this is definitely worrisome. As far as the second question, if I quickly move, is intellectual property rights, right? Well, with the advent of internet itself, intellectual property was very shaky because they said internet is the biggest copying machine ever invented in the world, right? In early 90s, when we were in Bangalore Law School, when I was teaching, when you have a project, 1 month before, students will be, running here and there to a library, trying to get a book, unkempt hair and, unshaven, things like that. But today, when I say a project is to be given tomorrow morning, they are spending till midnight somewhere, coming back in the morning and giving me the project. Because, as you said, ChatGPT, too many things. So it's a Tom and Jerry, which we are trying every time. Now, Turnitin itself is a problem. It is not able to catch what ChatGPT is doing. And all of you know a recent case filed by a student that if I use AI, how do you say it's a copyright violation? Because I use the AI, I am the actual author trying to modify. The court is grappling with this new problem now. So intellectual property, very interestingly, grew phenomenally thanks to technology and also shrinks thanks to technology, right? Without technology, without LP records, without thing, I don't think so many singers would have been known in the world. But at the same time, this is a problem which is probably maybe say new IP in AI, we have to patent, all that may happen. So probably IP is little elite in my opinion. It is among inventors, companies, etc., etc. Not much of a problem. But the other part, first part, what you asked, it is very worrisome. We are producing so many lakhs of lawyers, especially like India. And then one of my colleagues used to tell, if a lawyer comes out and he has to have a decent living for next 40, 50 years, he calculated he should have 10, 15 cases, happening every month, which means there has to be litigation running. So litigations will happen. But how far this young workforce is still, we don't have much of mapping and data, but it's high time, as from a human rights perspective, when you say job is not, lawyers also have a human rights issue, right? Lawyers are not something, what you call as, even though they call it as white collar, right? Many a times you find the struggle much more than a blue collar in the initial 10 years, 12, 15 years when they come. So it is certainly a huge concern from a human rights perspective, and some level of predictability we should have. What is the displacement? What are the alternates? Whether you're going to give some subsistence allowance, all that is now part of the story when AI enters. But can stop AI is very difficult. Or I would sum it up, the problem of regulatory and law still, we are very, very slow in thinking about AI is, as one of the professor from Portland University, I remember Linstone said, that we are dealing with 21st century technologies, 20th century governance structures, and 19th century laws, right? So laws are 19th century, structures are 20th. What we are trying to deal is tomorrow, right? And so this definitely should be part of a kind of empirical as well as juridical research, that what AI is going to do, especially our space called law. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess I had the trademark style of your answering that particular thing, and in the exact of the way to make us understand that yes, it is all about the paradigm shift. It is more about how the tools are getting upon with the 21st century thing, the governance of 20th century, and the framework that we are having with the 19th century. Thank you so much. With that, I'd like to move towards Professor Edna. And the similar thing that I'm tricking, and with advent of what Professor Vivekananda sir pointed out, is indeed we all agree for that particular event even today, that yes, for the legal profession particularly. How do you see, Professor Edna, for that particular point from a human rights perspective, or also and how we are going to affect the future generations' human rights?
Well, good evening, and for my country, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Jairam for the kind invitation, and the Colloquium University too. It's a great honor being with you today, mainly just because I can share this space with some precious colleagues as Professor Marieta Saftar and Professor Goran. And so let's talk about artificial intelligence and what legal frameworks can be established to ensure the AI applications respect individual rights, and talk about our jobs. Well, I have to say that if we look back to the history of the humanity, new technologies always impact all our lives, mainly capital and labor relations. I can give one example. The Industrial Revolution changed everything, mainly when machines replaced artisans. But now we are living another similar situation. And to ensure that AI applications respect individual rights, including privacy and no discrimination, I think several legal frameworks can be and have to be established, as Professor Marieta Saftar said. Firstly, comprehensive data protection laws should be enforced, akin to the general data protection regulation in Europe. These laws must mandate explicit consent for data collection, robust security measures, and the right to data access and rubbing out for individuals. Just because it's important, this thing is very, very important, not only for us lawyers, no, for all the society. Secondly, anti-discrimination legislation must be updated to address tendencies inherent in AI systems. Could involve mandating regular audits of AI algorithms to detect and to rectify tendencies. And we already know what I am talking about. I'm talking about race, gender, and social class. Ensuring that AI systems are trained on diverse and representative data sets, and holding developers accountable for discriminatory outcomes. It's very, very, very important. It's very important for us to survive to this era, to address the ethical implications of deploying AI at scale. Legal frameworks should include mechanisms for accountability and transparency. This could involve establishing independent oversight bodies to monitor and evaluate the deployment of AI technologies. And furthermore, legal frameworks should provide avenues to redress in cases of violations of individual rights. In this case, our role, university, schools of law, and attorneys, our role is very, very important. These legal frameworks can include strengthening legal recourse for individuals harmed by AI decisions, ensuring organizations deploying AI systems are held accountable for any adverse effects, and fostering collaboration between legal, technological, and ethical experts to continually access and address emerging challenges posed by AA. We have to think about it. Just because things are changing, and we have to establish limits to not only the application, but to the sort of changes that are happening. So by implementing these legal frameworks, we can create a balanced approach to that promotes innovation while safeguarding individual rights and upholding ethical standards in the deployment of AI applications. The future is in our hands. So let's work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Edna. I guess the entire thing, yes, the future is in our hands. Something that has categorized how the development of also human rights has taken place. I still remember the first words, and when the UDHR was being adopted, it was also said the similar lines were used by the framers there that yes, the future is in our hands, and that can only be done by addressing and protecting the human rights. So thank you for that, yes, the legal framework is the necessity of how these things need to be converted. And thank you so much for hinting me towards my next question, for which I'll rush back to Justice Sinha. So as been discussed in past 20-25 minutes, that we are, whichever part of the country that we are seeing onto, whichever part we are taking it up, it's the legal framework that is something which is missing over these AIs. Number one. Number two, now, the only reason is not like that countries have not attempted to. I have the example for state of Illinois, where they now have an requirement of before disclosing any of such things, they need to take it up. Similar things as we saw under the softwares of AI that we have, like ChatGPTs and other, they now have a disclaimer that all the data that is there may not be relied on to another such thing. So, sir, what do you feel that what these legal frameworks should ideally address so that the ethical standards, the ethical considerations, and the legal things can be there overall in all, so that the human rights of the generations can be protected? Sir, just your mute, sir.
Oh, it's for me?
No, it's for Justice Sinha.
Okay.
Thank you. It always happens with me. I forget to unmute. Thank you for the question. It's a very interesting discussion that I find, and I fully agree with Professor Vivekanand that it's a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift means that the things are moving much more ahead, much faster than what the legal frameworks actually addresses. We have a system of, very slow lawmaking things. I always question about the lawmaking systems in many of the countries, where few of the parliamentarians understand and majority of the parliamentarians will only clap. So that's how the laws are made. Laws are also made by the interested parties or somebody. It is also sometimes guided, but this is something that has to be guided from outside. Biggest issue is the education, as Professor Marietta has said, and also Professor Edna also emphasized that the education has to be, thought of, reconsidered about including how it is going to affect the system, our employment, the governance systems, our social life, the ethical values. So many things are there. So the first of all is the preparedness, and the preparedness starts from education. So the next generation, all the students who are here at this moment listening to us, are the future, are actually the future on whom we have to rely on to foresee, because we have come from a very traditional background and we might be too slow to understand, or our lawmakers might be too slow to understand the long-term impact of AI in terms of human rights, in terms of, and also the employment issues. Now, it is, first of all, it has to be an in-country understanding. Then AI issue is beyond the boundaries, so it's not limited to to one country. So then there is another question that has to go beyond the boundary, which is, let's say, bilateral agreements or the multilateral understandings between the countries, and then it can be go into the regional issue, and certainly the global issue also. So certainly the global issue also. So globally, basically, I mean, it's the right time for us to start talking about AI.
Apologies. Just a moment.
And now you can please proceed.
Right. Okay. So this is a global subject also that we have to come up with. The regulatory frameworks, the main thing is basically, as I said, a foresightness of how it is being developed. So who is the developer? The developers has to actually make aware to the public what is the next steps that may come up with. So education also starts from, because they are also the human beings. So it's not only a legal matter, it is a social aspect also. So it's their social responsibility to make people aware about the changes, and that's where the need of each country will come up to make the legal framework or regulatory frameworks. So as I said, the various aspects are within the country, starting from the education to awareness to training, some skill developments, and then the country's needs has to be taken care of, and the extensive discussions has to be there in the political arena also, who are the lawmakers in each of the countries. Yeah, I think that's all I will share at this moment. I would love to listen to others, because it's a very wonderful learning experience even for me.
Thank you so much, sir. And I totally agree that yes, to understand the perspective from a judicial perspective towards the how the academician take it. I'll pose the same question to Professor Vivekanandan, sir. Sir, you talked about, yes, I understand that the frameworks of how we are doing. So how can we not only address this thing? I know it's not about addressing the elephant in the room, but also how ethically we are bringing that particular thing. So you take on that, please.
Okay, thank you. Recently, I was in a kind of a meeting like this with the Commonwealth, universities, vice chancellors meeting. The specific question was on ethics. And we lawyers know that ethics is very self-generated one, whereas law, you fear because there is a penalty, right? I think my foreign friends, I don't know how much they visited India, right? I am from Hyderabad, and they used to tell, in Hyderabad, people drive left, right, and center, right? In other places, they right, left, or right, but we right, left, and right, and center. And they were not even bothered about a cop. They just turn and go because cops cannot catch. And signals are no problem. But once the cameras were put in, you can still track and find them. There is a tremendous reduction. Or, in other words, the argument is with the maze, I call it M-A-Z-E, maze AI is how far this ethics is going to work. Especially, it's so complex for even a normal coding person to understand because it's little more sophisticated. So probably I think there has to be a combination of law plus ethics. So ethics part, whoever listens to ethics, we can keep driving that from younger age. But law is definitely needed of people who use AI, what kind of disclosure they have to give, and what kind of things to do, and what kind of penalties. If that is not done, I call it as a runaway AI, right? That is what is happening in many places. If you look from deep fakes to many things, what is happening? So this is definitely a human rights issue of privacy. Many things. What is surveillance? I call it. Many things happening. So it's very essential. Not just the big tech giants of private, but even government, when it gets the type of AI, could have a different type. In the morning, we were addressing with the media people in my university about I was addressing on manufacturing concerned, media and AI amplification. So you really now, it's a human rights violation if you're going to not people let to decide on their free will, but I'm going to again put certain things. So as I said that, or a bottom line, I would put it, ethics is good, but law is definitely gets results. And how complex the law, will it throw the baby out of the bathwater? These are all things we have to put our head together. But it's finally that, as I said, certain level of clear legal, propositions have to come. Otherwise, this ethics could be a kind of a mirage beyond a point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And I totally agree when Justice Sinha and Professor Vivekanandan were bringing the issues that, yes, it's parallelly the legal side and the ethical side both needs to be addressed. I'll also get reminded of Austin as he was used to describe law, that law is nothing but a command of sovereign and a sanction requires. That's something that also Vivekanand sir has very wonderfully highlighted. I'll move to Professor Marietta to challenge or to bring this issue of ethical when we are framing a legal framework. And we want to know that how this ethics is taken clubbed together, or do we need a special parameter for the same? So, Professor Marietta, how you're going to see that if ethics or other such things are being brought on?
First, it's such an important and complex topic. We need another panel to discuss only these things, I think. But when you ask this question, and hearing also the other panelists today, I remember a recent conference I had in Ireland. It was a conference of European Law Institute, and it was discussed a very interesting idea. Of course, interesting for me because it's about the Constitution. We discuss a lot about how to adapt the laws and strategies in order to face these challenges of the artificial intelligence. But there, it was discussed also the idea to amend the constitutions maybe in order to face these challenges. And an interesting proposal was to embed in the constitution the right of human decision, ensuring that the ultimate authority remains to the people and not to the algorithms. And as I was inspired in this, and I remember about this because Professor Edna just said that it is important for us to survive. Survival does not mean only physical survival. but it was about our culture, it was about our dignity, about our general human values. So this artificial intelligence should be used only as an instrument to help us, and maybe it is important to enshrine at the highest level in our constitution this kind of principles in order to adapt all the legislation and to respect this highest principle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Marietta. And I know there is an applause from Professor Edna for the same as well, but exactly what is delivering me to take a point of survival, I would really appreciate the right of human decision that you have rightly pointed out. And I'll come back to Professor Edna for this final take on of hers on the point of now. It's not about the survival of the fittest. It's always about now for the survival of all of us together. So it's all for us, all for human rights, and human rights for all is what the concept of human rights basically wants to. So if we are seeing that how this particular ethical issue is being taken up to, the legal frameworks that you rightly pointed out has to be taken on to. So how do you feel this ethical standards being taken up at a separate footing or in together to that particular point? Professor Edna.
Well, my dear Professor Safta, it was great. It was great. Your words were fantastic, perfect. And in this point, I think that's very, very important to talk about international cooperation, just because it's the same problem for all of us, all around the world. So addressing the cross-border human rights challenges posed by the AI technologies requires a very unprecedented levels of international cooperation. Given the global nature of AI applications, isolated national regulations may be insufficient, not complete, not enough to tackle issues that transcend borders. And so there are several ways for international cooperation that can be fostered to address these challenges effectively. Harmonizing legal standards, creating harmonized legal standards and guidelines for AI development, and can help ensure consistency in how ethical concerns are addressed worldwide. International bodies such as the United Nations and ACD can play a pivotal role in developing and promoting these standards, ensuring that AI technologies are commitment to universal human rights principles. And I think a global oversight institutions, establishing global oversight institutions, for me, it's very, very important, just because it can enhance accountability and provide a platform for addressing grievances related to AI. These institutions can monitor compliance and with international standards investigate violations and facilitate cooperations between countries in enforcing ethical AI practices. But not only this, cross-border protections agreements to protect rights in this era of data-driven AI, countries can enter into cross-border data protections agreements. These agreements can ensure that data privacy and security standards are maintained consistently, regardless of where the data is processed or analyzed, thus safeguarding individuals' rights globally. And for us, international research collaboration, encouraging international research collaboration can help develop AI technologies that are both innovative and ethically sound. Collaborative research initiatives can leverage diverse perspectives and expertise, leading to more comprehensive and inclusive solutions to AI-related challenges. And so, by fostering international cooperation, I think we can create a cohesive and unfiltered approach to regulation AI, ensuring that the benefits of AI are realized globally while mitigating the risks and protecting human rights. Through collaborative efforts, harmonized standards, and shared resources, I think we can address the complex and borderless challenges posed by AI technologies and promote a safer, fairer, and more ethical global AI landscape. What do you think about?
Thank you so much, Professor Edna. And I guess the way that you've said that when it is come to human rights and we can have a universal declaration followed, irrespective whether it's a developed nation, a developing nation, or an underdeveloped nation. We can also have a legal framework, irrespective of favoring the North or the South or the developed or the underdeveloped. And exactly in the similar way, we can have certain of the issues, because what is ethical and what I can club on to the questions that been answered this way, that yes, where ethical issues do have it, legal sanctioning and legal points would definitely add to that particular point. So thank you so much, panelists, for these wonderful insights of how the requirement of a legal framework alongside the ethical needs to be addressed, but in a very legal framework manner. I come to my second last question, and that is very, very integral here, because the way that we are interacting today, I generally believe that's one of the positive sides which COVID positive rightly gave to us. And it was an interaction on the platforms like Zoom. But what was the negative impact of COVID was on the medicines and the health concerns. I would like to, because that again is one of the majors. And if I can read the UDHR report of 2023, still the major human rights that is affecting countries, whether it's a developed or an underdeveloped nations, is on the health standards. And I have also come across, and I was recently researching of how the pharma patents and other things were taking on to, I came across with AlphaFold. AlphaFold again is one of those AI using softwares that have been transforming the health and standards. I'll straight away come to Professor Vivekanandan for this particular question. That is, if we are coming out with a legal framework to pace up with the breakthroughs in the AI, ensuring that innovations are accessible and beneficial to all, What ethical concerns arise when a patient data in an AI research that laws can address while promoting innovation? Over to you, sir.
Can you come back to the last sentence, what you said?
So I said that how this patient data is being taken for an AI research that laws can address while promoting innovations.
Okay. When AI came into the scene last few years back, one of the welcome thing all over the world has been how AI could really help in the medical field, which takes long years to address issues, whereas AI could really speed up in terms of scaling up. And also, whether with such kind of mind-boggling kind of a data speed, whether you can also customize certain things instead of very generic, can it be customized sometimes, if not individuals, at least certain groups, which has a variation in generic. So that part was welcome. But second part, what you said, uh, is a worrisome thing on patients' data. This is where I said in the beginning, the earlier question, stringent laws are needed, because when we say treatment, health, it's a regime complex, I call it. You have on one side innovations, and then trying to get into the market is one part of the story. And then how it is getting administered, and then there is hospitals, and then there are insurance companies, which are all part of the big gamut. And in such case, it has been always a worry if this data gets into for example, how far insurance company will be fair in case if I know somebody is even with a mind-boggling AI, next few years or couple of years, a person might get infected. Sometimes signs can be got much early. In such case, I can efficiently draw subclasses in the policy, or I don't take you into the fold. So can law come into the space, not only protection of data, but also to checkmate these kind of misuses, where a certain set of people can be kept out because you have a predictive capacity about what might infect them. So this is one of the central part. The data privacy, in a way, it's a surveillance for a business proposition so that I increase my margin. End of the day, what happens? We are living in a free market, whichever way you call it. But at the same time, what happens is that every competitor or every person in the field of insurance or hospitals or many things, they try to cut edges. So, and when they try to cut edges, does an ordinary patient does he even know what is being taken, etc. So it is definitely, as I said, one of the it's a flip side of the coin. On one side, I do strongly believe AI can really bring in a big, be a game changer in terms of health innovation. But on the flip side, as you said, from innovation to access, then whether a lot of people are going to be kept out of access, and those who can pay will be the beneficiaries of AI, is a human rights question, which when we break our head about type of laws. So this certainly requires very stringent laws, and ethics won't work here.
Thank you so much, sir. And I totally resonate with that particular answer. And before I move to Justice Sinha to have his take on the point itself. So, Justice Sinha, if you can quickly take, even after listening to Professor Vivekanandan's reply over the same, that yes, these are nothing but the flip side of the same coin itself. So, your take on that, sir. So, I would request you to unmute yourself.
As always. Thank you very much. I know it looks like I was sitting in my college bench and listening to a professor telling me about what is the future of law and the legal regime. Thank you, Professor Vivekanand. It's always wonderful listening to you. He has very, very rightly said that it's a matter, at one side it is an opportunity, whereas on the other side it is a huge, huge challenge. Now, a country like Nepal, where access to medical facilities are very, very rare in the remote areas, this can be a wonderful thing to reach to them, who are least bothered about their privacy. They are least bothered about what is happening around. They just want themselves to be treated in a proper way or an acceptable way within a legal framework. On the other side, they also become sometimes some sort of subject to research, like a guinea pig. So the issue of privacy is of paramount importance in this case. We cannot stop everything to stop something. So this simultaneously, this matter will go on, and at the same time, legal regime, the stringent laws, enforcement mechanisms has to be in place. Very rightly, it has been discussed earlier that the collaborative approaches between countries, even multilateral, bilaterals, that is very, very important at this moment to have an insight on these issues. That's my take on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And before I end this particular question, I'll quickly come to Professor Marietta of taking this approach of how in the health regime, the advent of AI, specifically when it is a privacy concerned issue, and also to what Justice Sinha rightly mentioned, and I would totally agree that yes, this is an advent of how the health industry should also be taken in that particular point. So over to you, Professor.
Very short because we don't have so much time. I'll keep the same idea. It's very important to use this artificial intelligence in our benefit, also in medicine. It is amazing to have this progress in medicine and access in innovation, but it's important to know what does it mean, this innovation, and to balance very well these benefits with our rights in order to not breach the use of the innovation in medicine and the use of artificial intelligence, human dignity and human rights. And it's an important role of the judges to oversee this application and this use of the innovation in medicine. It was discussed about the laws, about the legislator, the task of the legislator, but it also an important task for the judges, because I know that, for example, in Europe, we have the European Court of Human Rights, and there are very challenging cases there concerning this issue. So, thank you. This is my...
Thank you, Professor Marietta, for that. And with this, I guess I'll be pausing myself as a moderator, and I'll request all my attendees, they can use the Q&A option on their screens to write in their questions. I would appreciate if you want to have a specific question to any of our panelists, or if it is an open question, I would request that the next 10 minutes we can utilize and make your questions also being addressed by this wonderful panel. One line that I'll borrow from Justice Sinha, believe me, even for me, it was a feeling that I'm sitting back to my college bench and we had a wonderful panel discussing. I have made my notes. That is one very big evident thing that I can tell that, okay, yeah, I was back to the class of Professor Vivekanandan once again, 10, 12 years back. But believe me, what all learnings, what all wonderful points that we had. Never thought that human rights could also be taken with this particular way. So thank you all my panelists for the same. I've started getting questions, and the first question, I guess, is directed to Professor Marietta. And this question, and I'll club two questions here. So the question is raised by Pranjal Saraswat alongside Priyanka Pandey. And I don't know, but the questions are really same. And we are just crossing a line on that particular point. So the question is that as we see the non-traditional segment of the warfare in which AI is somehow providing the sharpness to the edge. So what is your take, Professor Marietta, on the individual dignity and the AI-enabled warfare in the terms of UDHR 1948? And to what Priyanka's question is somewhere related, and but I am just can't stop myself from reading that particular phrase of her. She uses a word, so can we categorize AI as a weapon of mass destruction, considering this particular fact? So, Professor Marietta, I guess the entire warfare regime is being addressed to you. So, please, your take on that, Professor.
It's such a complex question or questions if they are more to discuss about the artificial intelligence in relation with dignity and welfare and the principles applicable in our existence in our day-to-day life. What should I say just in a few words about this? It is important to explore and to use these tools in our benefits also, to have a better life. Also in terms of welfare of our for us as citizens of persons or states. But as I mentioned, it is important to control the artificial intelligence. It is important to know very well what we want to do and to achieve with artificial intelligence, because it's not very closely related with your question, but I think it's important. Maybe it can be seductive at one moment to use artificial intelligence in order to solve very important problems which affect our lives or our states, like corruption, for example. Last summer in Paris, in a big conference about criminal law, someone came, and it was also about the artificial intelligence. And someone came and said, okay, it is perfect to have judges robots, because in this way we'll not have corruption, because only only people, they can be corrupt, not the robots. But I think it's a false idea. I think it's important to be wise when we use it. Corruption. It's also in relation with the welfare in our developments and societies. It's very important topics of our day. But I think it's not a solution to replace the people and the judges with the robots in order to solve these issues or other very important issues of our society. So let's keep in our hands the artificial intelligence somehow, legislative, with our efforts as judges or educators. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Merritt. And I guess the borrowing of that particular answer that you gave is yes, be wise. Be wise, because AI or AI related problems, I guess there are so many questions popping up. Few of them has already been answered by Marietta in this proper way, that yes, be wise. Whether it's an issue of a deep fake, whether it's an issue of an AI or cyber related offenses, be wise. And I guess that's a better way to cooperate. Alongside me, there are other IP scholars as well, and they are directing questions towards Professor Vivekanandan, sir. And sir, I guess the question is from Akash, who asked that if AI depends on data, so those who control data like Google, Gemini, Microsoft, ChatGPT, will they control the world? So you take on that.
Well, certainly they would like to control the world, right? As you said that they say that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts more. So obviously, but everybody, we say corruption, they may say we are doing it for humanity and things like that. And that is a big worrisome factor. In fact, 5 tech companies approximately, it's literally when we move into this data world or AI world, by their fast moving thing they're doing. But at the same time, you also know many of these tech companies are also many a times legally, what I call as brought to the book. So there will be that as I said, that's what I said, that more disclosures, more regulations, law could easily have the benefit of. So I'm not tarnishing the tech companies. I'm sure that thanks to technology, from Nepal to Brazil to many places, we are sitting in this evening and talking. So, but at the same time, as I said that, as Justice pointed out, that how do I balance innovation with privacy, data, etc. So the big companies are certainly, I wouldn't call it as a kind of a manipulated monopoly, but they have become a natural monopoly because they are so fast moved in the beginning they happen to do. Even Amazon, if you take everything, and all the big marketing product companies are also data producers. So naturally, as I said, there'll be a huge temptation in a competitive world to use it to your advantage. There'll be a natural temptation not to be very free and frank about it. And so it is now with the regulators, with the government. And when I say again, how far governments are active or complacent, again, will depend upon many of us in different fields like judiciary or academics or NGOs, who constantly have to put. So that way, this topic of AI human rights, assumes that AI is always considered as a kind of a technological issue. Naturally, it's technology, but the point is it has ramifications in many, many facets of human rights. That is, I think, people like you organizing this seminar and quite a lot of young people listening to that can now take up a small project, take up a dissertation, and start looking at it, and you will, get, if not complete answers, we will get some way forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I guess that is exactly how, and as it is rightly said, the technology is basically the one who got it first. But the role of judiciary, the role of us as academicians out there is always that we can research, we can definitely see both sides of it and then take it up. Thank you so much, sir, for that insight.
One thing I just want to add, with Justice also said about lawmaking. I used to tell that law is a product of a single brilliant mind on a single day. But on the other side, the technology is such product, but law is a product, I always tell, of collective frustration. To get my point, by the time we come together, the next regime will come and delete this law. So, but it's structural dynamics, I call it. Law cannot be ahead of technology, but how close we are is where the whole efforts are, right?
Absolutely correct, sir. Absolutely correct. I guess the democratic way of answering about law is you rightly mentioned that. But yeah, and on the other hand, I'll also agree that science would always be a step ahead to what law can or shall be. Before I move to my last or second last question, as the time permits, I would also request all the participants that we have shared the feedback link in the chat box. You may please fill the feedback links from there. And this question is guided to Justice Sinha, and I'll take his point of view to a very important thing, which is, and I really like this question by Dhwani Sharma. The question is, as AI becomes more powerful and deeply integrated into our lives, how can we make sure it is used to protect and uplift the human rights, specifically in places where government or institutions might misuse it to harm vulnerable communities or silence the dissent? So, Justice Sinha, over to you. How would you take this particular thing? Sir, I would request you to unmute yourself.
Thanks for the question. Very important one. The use and misuse are always there in the society. Laws cannot stop, but law can actually, it can be prevented in a way. It can create some fear, and it can also punish those who actually infringe the issues. Human rights, the dimensions are changing every day. But the issue is about infringement of the human rights through use of the AI. And that is why I said that the education is the paramount importance. And the education has to start from the next generation population first, as well as simultaneously, because the judiciary is always a backbencher in technological advancements. So it has to be very strictly guided towards the judiciary also. The lawmakers are, as Professor Vivekanand also said, that it takes so long time here to discuss on various issues that by the time a law is passed, it is obsolete most of the time. So those all aspects has to be discussed. I would say that it is the right time to start discussing, educating, and making people aware of it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And yeah, the bottom line, I guess, to what all we were discussing for past 90 minutes is exactly the similar thing. That yes, AI, and I know there is one question which was also popping in my mind, that when we know that AI is violating the human rights, why the people are promoting AI? And believe me, I got the answer with all the such questions, that yes, and to borrow a line which I guess Vivekananda sir used, was science would always be a step ahead. And it is the duty of the law and the lawmakers to bring it, not to curb it, but also to utilize in that particular thing. Um, I am short of time, and there are a number of questions. Please pardon us, and consider this as just mere a time limitation, that all these questions couldn't have been taken. There was no other reason of not taking up your questions. It was a wonderful session. Believe me, as a moderator, I'm still getting goosebumps, and I'm not even feeling to just end it. But I understand that how important the usage of time, how important the influence of time has changed, and so has the human rights. None of us ever imagined, and I'll conclude by this line which I started off with, never imagined in 1948, the framers of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that they would ever interact or to have a session listening to just such a thing on an internet forum on how the technology would impact the human rights. But accepting the truth, I guess this is a new thing, and the science is developing day by day. So would human rights and the human rights protection would. So thank you so much once again, my lovely panelists. Believe me, as a moderator, as an organizer, and moreover as a legal scholar, the learning was immense. I was shortage of papers here, of what lovely points and some good food for thought that you people have given us today. As a moderator of this session, thank you so much. And it was indeed an immense pleasure moderating this wonderful session. I'll move to Shreya ma'am to please take it ahead from me.
Thank you so much, sir. This colloquium really marks a significant step toward understanding how we can build a legal framework that ensures AI serves as a force for good, upholding human dignity and rights in the future. The questions raised here were truly only the beginning, and I'm confident that the ideas shared will continue to inspire and shape our thinking in the coming years. This colloquium was really groundbreaking, and thank you all our panelists, and thank you, Dr. Devanshu, for moderating this session with such expertise. I would now like to invite Dr. Neetu, Assistant Professor at School of Law, GD Goenka University, to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shreya. Namaste to all the panelists and everyone. As we come to the close of this insightful and thought-provoking observance of International Human Rights Day, it is my privilege and honor to deliver the vote of thanks. Today, we came together to reaffirm our commitment to the principles of equality, dignity, and justice for all. And this event would not have been possible without the contribution of Augusta gathering present here. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelist, Honorable Justice Mr. Anil Kumar Sinha, Professor V.C. Vivekanandan, Professor Dr. Marita Safta, Professor Dr. Edna Rackle Hockman. The thought-provoking discussion highlighted the importance of protecting and promoting human rights in the artificial intelligence world. Your insight have not only deepened our understanding, but also challenged us to act with a greater purpose and responsibility for the future generations towards sustainability. It is important to extend the gratitude to our participants. It is pertinent to mention here that we have reached to the benchmark number for the available slots for this webinar that is 500 plus. Further, I'm grateful for the participants who have joined us through YouTube and Facebook Live. The vote of thanks will be incomplete if I have not thanked the GDGU team, Professor K, Professor Anuradha, and Professor Jairam. Dr. Divyanshu sir for his kind acceptance to moderate this session. I would also like to thank our organizing committee and the volunteers, Sandeep,
Rahil, Rafiq, Pankaj Chutani, Rafet, Mino, Miss Priyanka, Dr. Leena, and not the least, Dr. Dakshita Sangwan, who is the Head Center for Constitution and Human Rights, whose dedication and meticulous planning ensure the success of this event. From managing logistics to creating a welcoming atmosphere, your efforts has been exceptional. Lastly, to all the attendees, your presence here today reflects your commitment to the protection of human rights in artificial intelligence era. It is heartening to see so many individuals coming together to champion these universal values. Thank you all for making this event so impactful and meaningful. Thank you and namaste to everyone.